In this video, I'm going to be modeling for you the area model for division. So just as a reminder, division is the separating of equal groups. So it is the inverse of multiplication. Multiplication was the joining. Division is the separating of equal groups. So for here, it could be into 3 groups or groups of 3, 8 groups or groups of 8, 4 groups or groups of 4. And also for these examples and for the examples your 4th grader will be doing first, there will be no remainders. There will be no leftovers. So each group is going to have the same amount in them and there will be nothing left over to figure out what to do with it. We will get to that in 4th grade, but for these examples and right now, we are just no remainders. All right, so here's our area model. So this equation, when it's normally written, is 81 divided by 3. Okay, so what we do is we put our dividend 81 and we are dividing it into either 3 groups or groups of 3. I like to just make up little stories to help me visualize what's going on. And sometimes I even just draw 3 groups and I don't even use them, but I just remind myself that these 81 pencils are going equally into these 3 boxes or these 3 cups. Okay, so that's the first thing that I do is I set up my area. I also remind myself that since division is the separating out into equal groups, that's how I remember that I start division inside the area model. Because multiplication, we start the area model going inside and because we're joining. So that's kind of how I remember where to start division. So I have my 81 pencils and I'm trying to put them into my 3 groups. Now, 81 pencils really isn't a ton, but it would still take me a while to give 1 here, here, and here, 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 and here, and keep going all the way through the 81. So I want to use what I know about place value to see, well, maybe I could use groups of 10 first. So I'm going to look in my tens place. I'm going to see, well, I have 8 tens here. So I could give each of them some 10s, some groups of 10 pencils first to make it a little bit more efficient and easier for me. So what I like to do to the side here is I think if the 3 groups each get a group of 10 pencils, that's 30 pencils, but I have 8 tens. So let me see if maybe instead I could give the 3 groups 2 groups of 10 or 20 pencils. So that's like putting 2 tens in there. That's 60. Well, let me try one more, maybe, because we're not at the 80 yet. Let me try if I give each group 3 tens or 30 pencils. All right, well, that's 90. Okay, that is too far because I only have 8 tens. So I'm going to use this one right here, 3 groups of 20. That would be like putting 20 pencils right away into those 3 groups, 20, 20, and 20. 3 groups of 20 is 60. So I just right away gave 60 pencils out. I just right away figured out that each group can get 20 pencils, and then I've already given out 60 pencils. So now when I subtract, I have 21 pencils left to give. But since I used tens first, I now know that I'm going to use these one at a time. So now I have 21 pencils. My first round I gave out in groups of 20, and there were 60 given away. Now I'm going to do round 2, and now I'm going to give them out one at a time. Now some of you might know that 3 groups of 7 is 21. If you didn't know that, then you would over here to this side do, well, if I gave everyone 1 pencil, that would be 3. If I gave each group 2 pencils, that would be 6. Each group 3 pencils is 9. 4 pencils is 120. 5 pencils is 150. 6 pencils is 180. And then I would see that each group getting 7 pencils is 21 pencils. So I've given away all my pencils, and I know I've been successful because I have no pencils left. So first round, each group got 20 pencils. Second round, each group got 7 pencils. So 81 pencils divided into 3 groups of 27. All right, I'm going to erase this a little bit so I have some room here to do an example. This is different in 2 ways. First of all, it's a 3-digit dividend, but it's the same idea. Instead of starting with tens, I'm going to start with hundreds. But you'll notice something different here. So let's get started, then I'll point out what you might notice. So let's just say that these are slices of pizza. It might sound silly, but I just like to make up a little story. So there's 592 slices of pizza, and 8 people want to share them. Okay, so I have my 8 people here, and they want to share the pizza. Well, if I look here in my hundreds, I can't give each person 100 slices of pizza. That would be 800, but I only have 500. So I can't start with 100, 100, 100, 100, 100 because people would be left out. So I'm instead going to use groups of 10. Let's see if I can do groups of 10. So groups of 10 is I have 59 tens because 50 of them came from the hundreds, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 9 of the individual tens. So I have 59 tens. So I'm either going to use what I know about my multiplication facts already, or I'm going to the side over here say, well, if the 8 groups each get 10 slices, that's 80. I have 59. So if each group gets 20 slices, if each person, if 8 people each get 20 slices, that is 160. If the 8 people each get 30 slices, that is 240. If the 8 people each get 40 slices, that is 320. If the 8 people each get 50 slices, that is 400. I'm getting closer. If the 8 people each get 6 tens or 60 slices, that's 480. If the 8 people each get 7 tens, let's see here, I got to work on that one. Oh, that is 56. So 560. Oh, I'm getting really close. I'm going to try one more because I'm still a little bit under. If 8 people get 80 slices, that's 640. That is too far. So I am going to use this one right here. 8 groups of 70 is 560. What I like to remember is each part of that equation needs to go into my area model. 8 groups of 70 is 560. So right away, by giving every person, all 8 people, 70 slices right away, I've given away 560 slices of pizza. And that leaves me with 32 slices to now hand out. So I was a little bit more efficient saying 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70. Now I just have 32 slices of pizza to work with. Okay, now 2 things might happen here. Number 1 is I might already know my multiplication that 8 groups of 4 is 32. What I also can do is I can go back to this and say, well, this one looks a lot like 32, but with a placeholder. And what I've been noticing is that 8 groups of 4 tens is a lot like 8 groups of 4 ones. 8 groups of 4 is 32. 8 groups of 4 is 32. So after I give 4 more slices to each group, I've given out 32 slices of pizza, and all of my slices are gone. So 592 pieces of pizza divided into 8 groups of 74. All right, I'm going to do one more example here, and that is just going to be with a 4-digit dividend. But again, it's the same thing. I'm just going to first think about, can I give thousands, hundreds, tens, ones? So here I am with my 2,524 pieces of candy, and I want to give them to 4 schools from my Halloween candy. So let's see if I could give each school 1,000 pieces of candy. Nope, because I only have 2,000. So those 4 schools, only these 2 would get 1,000. So I can't do that. Now I'm going to think about hundreds. Couldn't do thousands. Now I'm going to do hundreds. All right, well, I have 25 hundreds. Well, if each school gets 100, that's 400. If each school gets 200, that's 800. Oh, I'm getting closer. If each school gets 300, that's 1,200. If each school gets 400, that's 1,600. Let me move over here a little bit. Let me erase this. If each school gets 500, that is 2,000 pieces of candy. All right. If each school gets 600, that's 2,400 pieces of candy. Getting closer. If each school gets 700 pieces of candy, that is 2,800. That is too far because I only have 2,500. So I'm going to use this one. 4 groups of 600 is 2,400. So 4 groups of 600 is 2,400. So what that means is I went to each school and I said 600 for you, 600 for you, 600 for you, 600 for you. And I right away was able to give out 2,400 pieces of candy. So when I subtract those candies I just gave away, I now have 124 pieces left. So I'm now, since I just did hundreds, I'm going to use these as tens. Now my tens are actually 12 tens. 12 tens. Now I can use what I just did here to say, well, that looks a lot, before it got knocked down, a lot like 12, but with 2 placeholders. So if I take this away, I notice that it's 4 groups of 3 is 12. So 4 groups of 30 is 120. So 4 groups of 30 is 120. I want to have all 3 parts. 4 groups of 30 is 120. Okay, so that's just like me saying 30 more for you, 30 more for you, 30 more for you, 30 more for you. So right now each school has 630 pieces of candy, and I have 4 candies left. Now, I either know that 4 groups of 1 is 4, or I can look here and say, well, that looks a lot like 4, but with the 2 placeholders. So let me take those away. 4 groups of 1 is 4. 4 groups of 1 is 4. And I've given out all my candy. So again, I said 1 more for you, you, and you. So these 4 schools each got 631 pieces of candy. All right, so there's the area model. Go ahead and make sure that use this if you need to. Work it out and use what you know about your multiplication facts to help you think through the steps here in your area model.